Hello, everyone in the room and listening worldwide to Red Light Radio. My name is Gregory Marcus from the Netherlands Institute for Sound and Vision, kicking off the first of a series of interviews happening here as part of Dekmantel Festival on Red Light Radio in collaboration with The Rest is Noise at the Muziekgebouw. And I am joined for the next 20 minutes with Aïsha Devi. Hello, Aïsha.
Hiya.
It's a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, it's definitely an honor, and as I said when we kind of were getting to know each other a little while, it's kind of been a long time coming for our Pass the Cross. Just a quick little background because we only have 20 minutes. Last year, or earlier this year, you released your second full-length LP, DNA Feeling, on Houndstooth Records. Yes?
Yes,
that's correct.
That's exact.
And for the past year, and more recently, you've been touring a new live AV show, which you will also be doing tonight at Dekmantel Festival at Shelter. Preparing for this interview, I dove into your extensive catalog of interviews that you've done over the past kind of 4 years. And something that kept coming up that didn't necessarily, that I couldn't connect with, but as I was reading more and more about you talking about this, I wanted to connect with it more. And this was really about how your belief in kind of the power of sound, not so much music, but sound and spirituality in sound that can kind of like help people lead a better life or feel better. And I was wondering if we could kind of spend the next 20 minutes or so kind of breaking this down, and maybe you can open up my eyes and ears to what I'm missing about this.
Yeah, sure.
I completely can vibe with the kind of leaving a concert and feeling like a better person due to the sound that you've heard. Actually, in this building, Tim Hecker did that to me 4 years ago or so. And I'm wondering, could you maybe talk a bit about what it is about sound and the different kind of sound waves and how they impact us, our human bodies, to make us feel different things?
Yeah, I mean, first, how I connect with that, the first moment I realized how music did have an impact on people was on me, because I'm my first experimentator. And through meditation, I realized that when I was singing in a certain way, especially doing the Karya voice, which are the voices that the Tibetan monks are doing very low, that are the Kume voice doing by the Tuvan and the Mongol throat singing. There is something very special about that, is that you realize that how you speak and how you sing, your voice has a vibration. But when you learn this kind of throat singing, you realize that you can have an impact on how you make your throats vibrate, and then you can make out 2 different tones, and the vibration can have a total different resonance in your own body. And I've learned this kind of singing, and I realized that actually my own vibration, the vibration of my voice, had an impact on my body, and I actually healed myself with this kind of techniques, and then I extend that in the music. But it's funny to see how in every ritual music, human since millenniums are using music as a ritualistic, in a ritualistic process, communion, and healing and shamanistic way. It's absolutely not a coincidence, and it's very easy to understand. And this is also explained in the quantum physics, that is actually underlined by the modern physics now, the string theory, that the origin of every form and non-form is a vibration. Yeah. So if you come back to the conceptual motto, you realize that everything you see, everything you feel, everything you touch is generated by a vibration. So if that is so, I can transform and generate another form and then generate another atmosphere, and I can transform your DNA, I can transform your cells, I can have an impact on your body.
So is it possible for humans, myself included, to be somewhat stubborn to allowing this process? Is there like, do we as listeners need to be open and receptive to this as well, or if we're already kind of
I think
closed up.
Yeah, I think it's a collective now. It's necessary that it's becoming a collective enterprise at some point, because I think we live in a stubborn society. The whole system actually is hiding this from us, and we are full of parasite frequencies. I mean, our fridge, telephones, radio waves, they're all sending some huge electromagnetic signal that actually is like corrupting the harmonization of the earth. That's why you find some whales like lost on beaches, because actually we don't do that, but animals are frequency aware. They can like modulate their life and know where they are connected to they're aware of the magnetic fields, and we are not. And I think it's now a kind of, we enter a new era where we are starting to be aware of this magnetism, and we are starting to reconnect with this knowledge. And I think it's also us as musicians to make people aware about that.
Where kind of, we don't need to go into too much, personal detail, but I'm curious, where kind of were you in terms of your enjoyment of music, or your mental state, or just how you just felt before you kind of began to enter this world where you were discovering sound's impact on you?
Depressed.
Okay.
No, honestly, it was like kind of opening doors and never ending, being overwhelmed by so much that was out there, and so much that was known by shamans, so much that was known by pre-Christian culture. And I think capitalism, and actually our capitalism system that only rely on materialistic, and it's only you get what you see, is that exact society that doesn't allow us to go deeper and to search for this kind of vibrational knowledge.
And so has your relationship with music really, has it changed drastically since when you were younger, before you discovered all this, and now where you're at, when you were listening to music when you were, 14 or 15, and what was your relationship with music like then? Was it surface level, or did you still have an emotional connection with it?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I had this relationship with music, more kind of a escapism, and finding my own identity through music, because I was basically a ghost in the society, very discreet, very low key. I was just walking my dog and feeling the only being on this earth. And then when I start music, I start with singing, and I had the feeling existing for the first time, integrating a core, and making music with some people. I had a place, and that, I think it was the first door to belonging to this earth, was through singing. And then I did an art school, and then I started, because I was really bored in Switzerland, doing some graphic design. I didn't want, because the school was so experimental, so mind opening, and then I didn't want to put all my knowledge and skill to work for insurances and things like that. So I was like, okay, that's not for me. And I started to produce music in that kind of depressed, where should I put my skill? Where should I put my knowledge? And then I entered that kind of tunnel where I start modulating sound just as an alibi to sing. And I found freedom. And it was like designing my own landscape and designing your own cosmos with your own rules. And it was the first time I really feel, there's some places where you can actually build your own universe and modulate things. But I think it was more social at first, finding an identity through music, at the same point as when you're listening to hip hop, you feel you belong to this community. There is a strong attachment to being a human as a music producer. I was belonging somewhere. And then it only started for me, that kind of awakening about frequency only started after I started meditation. So I would say maybe 8 years ago.
And so, you were talking about kind of this reawakening of when you started to make music. A quote that I love to use and really rings true to me is from Talib Kweli, who says, I get my props off the rhymes I invented because I spoke my mind and I meant it. You talk about how you want your music to be this healing thing, or kind of this place where people can discover themselves.
Yeah.
And do you ever use your own music as a place that you can kind of, when you're meditating, or do you just listen back to your own music ever and kind of vibe on it?
No, I never.
No?
I can't. But there's something I never use. I never listen to my music. If people play my music, I'm going away. I don't want to hear it. But when I'm playing live, for sure, I'm there, and I'm more than me. I would say I'm transcended, and I kind of connect. I'm in a quasi-altered state of consciousness when I'm singing, and I like to have that idea of like a kind of ayahuasca experience, because I'm playing a lot with binaural beats and frequencies that are intentionally supposed to heal people. So I like that idea to being a bit a guide, like kind of a shaman. If you take ayahuasca, you need that little voice who will like guide you through that kind of a multi-sense trip, so yeah.
If you can believe it, we only have a few minutes left, and I have like a dozen more questions. Maybe I'll take maybe a little bit less serious route, and then we'll close out with a serious question. I heard through a mutual friend that you had started skateboarding. Is that true?
Yes.
You're experimenting with it? I think a lot of people have discovered music in the 90s through skate films, and I'm wondering, do you have any feelings about your music being used in something like a skate film? Like, is that the right place for your music?
I'd love that.
Yeah?
Oh, definitely. I'd love that. Because, the skateboarding scene is like the electronic scene where I am. I feel we are so few, we're a minority, and we speak the same language, and we have the same vision of the world, and we are definitely outcasts. So even when I was touring the States, I met some people who were skateboarding, and we had the same language. And I think, it's part of that minority, that kind of avant-garde place where tons of content can be delivered without any censorship. And I feel, even when I'm skateboarding in Geneva, I feel so outcast, because a lot of people like just insult me, especially when you're a girl. I'm just skating, and there's some old guy like, oh, just fuck you, little asshole. It's crazy. And you're like pushing them to their frustration state, but we are the incarnation of freedom at some point, So I think it's really cool. I'd love to have some music in a skateboard.
Well, if anyone's listening, if Spike Jones is listening, Aïsha's hoping for a sync. So then, just to round this out, because I'm going to come to your show tonight, and I want to have the best experience I can with your music. Yeah. Is there anything that maybe you would advise people like me that are a bit tight or closed up, what we should do before we come to an Aïsha Devi show that will help us get the full experience?
Just put yourself at ease. Be comfortable with your body, because I think it's a body experience. It's a multi-sense experience. I'm playing a lot, as I said, like with frequencies, with a lot of subs, so it should awake your cells at some point. And I think you should listen to your body and not your ego. So
I have a few hours to manage all the years of psychiatric treatment to get to this point. Okay, well, we're just gonna wrap this up then. A lot of things have been cleared up for me, and we're gonna close out with a song that I really liked off your last album called Kim and the Wheel of Life. I think it's a wonderful track. So Aïsha Devi, I don't know what time you played tonight. I think 11:30.
I don't know. I think it's a bit earlier, around 9 or something.
Okay.
I'll play in between Unit Mobius, and after me is Team Hacker.
Okay, so it's going to be a pretty full-on time
at
Shelter tonight.
It is.
So Aïsha Devi playing Shelter tonight in Amsterdam, and her new record, DNA Feeling, is out and available now on Houndstooth Recordings. Aïsha, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, see you on the dance floor.
Okay.
And